Christian Bale might be widely considered the best actor to play Batman overall, but few can deny the impact Michael Keaton had on the role. In just one movie, he shattered the Adam West campy era, turning Batman into a dark, psychologically wounded character to be feared instead of mocked. He paved the way for comic book movies to be taken seriously, not only capturing the theatricality of Tim Burton's world, but also the subtle nuances behind the Batcowl that most actors to follow him completely failed to. And the work he did, which even fans often fail to notice, deserves more love. I'm Adam from Whatculture.com, and here are 8 little-known tics that made Michael Keaton's Batman awesome. Number 8, his Batman is a performance artist. Let's be honest, Michael Keaton's Batman is a horrible fighter. In the original film, he's constantly getting shot or beaten up, even getting his ass handed to him by a single henchman in the finale. But his lack of skill and Keaton's odd fighting style was part of crafting the character, with actor and director deciding fear would be his main weapon. He'd intentionally let himself get shot, beaten, and then overcome so he can rise up again. Coupling that with his choice of costume, which is not functional riot gear but a theatrical costume, his method of fighting is actually more effective building a myth and appearing unkillable even if he's not. Number 7, he played the role like a silent movie star. Tim Burton knew that Bruce Wayne was a man who would never express himself with big speeches or gestures, so he decided to present the character like a silent movie star, someone who told the story through their eyes and body language. This concept is how Keaton was able to mentally separate the two men in both movies, and what makes his performance so compelling. Batman is rigid and stoic, and instead of dialogue, he relies on looks and actions to get his point across. On the other side, Bruce is all fidgety, nervous energy. He hates being the center of attention and tends to hunch over when speaking to strangers. The scene where he absent-mindedly, awkwardly trails Vicky Vale through the party could almost come straight out of a silent comedy. Number 6, he makes the Joker attack ambiguous. The did he or didn't he subject of the Joker's creation has created much debate, and it all comes down to a single expression Keaton gives before Jack Napier drops into the chemicals that turn him into the Joker. When Napier falls over the railing and Batman tries to save him, the physical strain is clear on his face initially, but this changes when he gets a good look at Napier's face. That flash of memory and the flicker of a change is enough to suggest that Napier may have been let go. On first viewing, it looks like an accident, but Keaton's expression adds real ambiguity to the moment, and the audience are left to decide for themselves. Number 5, he actually is wearing a costume at the Masquerade Ball. It's a fairly subtle piece of subtext, but it's no accident that Bruce Wayne arrives at the Masquerade Ball in Batman Returns dressed in just a tux. It might seem like he's showing contempt for sleazy host Max Schreck, but he's actually clearly already wearing a costume, that of Bruce Wayne. Bruce is the mask he wears in real life, and as he's already masquerading, there's no need for a mask. And it's such a successful disguise precisely because it's so authentic. He's insufferably uncomfortable as Wayne and maintains such an air of mystery that nobody recognizes him at his own party in the first movie. Far from being the millionaire playboy, he looks like an invited guest who doesn't really want to be there. Number 4, the Bat voice was his idea. It's the most obvious thing in the world, yet no actor before Keaton had thought of changing their voice when playing Batman. Keaton describes himself as a logic freak, and he couldn't get past the idea that Bruce would use his normal voice while in the costume, as other characters would obviously recognize it. So the simple solution was to lower his register a little, thereby creating a separation between the two men. And that eventually led to "Swear to me." He actually also explored other ways he could create a split between the two characters, such as using contact lenses or going into a bat trance to change from Bruce to Batman, and in the end, thankfully, he and Burton decided that changing the voice, that would be enough. Number 3, he came up with Bruce Wayne's defining moments. Rather than playing Bruce Wayne as a cocky playboy, Keaton made him a repressed rich kid who was fiercely uncomfortable in his own skin. He decided that Wayne's first date with Vicky Vale would see him seated at the far end of the wide table to show how out of touch he was with reality, and he also ad-libbed the line, "I don't even think I've been in this room before." He also studied bats for the role and tried to add little touches of their behaviour where he could. For instance, it was his idea that Vicky Vale should wake up and see Bruce sleeping like a bat, which, that should be a clue to his identity. Number 2, he let the bat suit inform his performance. Val Kilmer once described working in the bat suit as instant old age. There's no peripheral vision, you can't hear very well, all your movements are stiff, and you can't go to the bathroom alone. Keaton managed to not only work around those limits, but to work them into his performance, using his claustrophobia in a suit to inform Bruce's characterization. His Batman is very still and precise in his movements, with his eyes doing most of the talking. If he's fighting, he lets his opponents come to him or slowly walks towards them for intimidation. And as he couldn't move his head by itself, his poses become all the more dramatic, including his now famous hero turn to camera. And number 1, Batman loosens up in the sequel. The events of the first Batman movie clearly had an impact on both Bruce Wayne and the character of Batman, as they both lost some of their rigidness in Batman Returns. Having worked through some of his childhood scars, and also he had a relationship with Vicky Vale, short-lived as it might have been, he seemingly lost a little bit of his edge for the sequel. Bruce isn't as isolated anymore and is taking an active part in the city's welfare by opposing the power plant. He can also muster the courage to talk to women, although he's still a bit awkward, and as for for Batman, he's a lot more expressive. He can make the occasional joke, and he even has a smile or two. It's a small change, but it's nice that Keaton decided to add some personality changes to the part after the events of the first movie. That's comic book continuity. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from Whatculture.com, and I'll see you soon.